when a group of protesters hurled paint at Keanu Reeves during a charity event. The world expected outrage. Cameras captured the chaos, the internet buzzed, but Keanu didn't raise his voice, he raised the bar. Days later, headlines quietly shifted. The Hollywood star had just purchased a $75 million private jet. Not for luxury, not for ego, but to fly sick children across the country for life, saving treatments free of charge. No PR stunt, no press conference, just quiet kindness on a massive scale. This wasn't a one-off. Keanu's life is filled with quiet generosity, giving away millions from his Matrix earnings to crew members, taking pay cuts so others could be hired, or spending time with homeless people just to listen. They threw paint to provoke a scene. Keanu answered with compassion that flew above it all, literally. Sometimes, true strength is in silence. And sometimes, kindness takes flight. It happened on what should have been just another quiet evening, a charity gala, the kind where people dress up to do some good. The cameras were there, of course, as they always are, flashbulbs popping, reporters asking the same recycled questions. The whole scene felt familiar, almost rehearsed, until it wasn't. He stepped onto the carpet, smile relaxed, energy calm, the way he always does. No entourage, no drama, just presence. Then, out of nowhere, chaos, a flash of red, a splash of blue. Buckets of paint, thick, cold, and shocking, thrown at him by activists who'd somehow slipped past security. The paint clung to his clothes, his face like a grotesque mask meant to humiliate him in front of everyone. Gasps filled the air, phones whipped out. Security rushed forward too late. The cameras didn't miss a second. There was a moment, that breath between reaction and decision, where everyone leaned in, waiting to see what he'd do. Anger, retaliation, a lawsuit. He did none of those things. Instead, he blinked the paint from his eyes, wiped his mouth with the back of his hand, and stood still. Silent, no shouting, no swearing, just a quiet look, something between heartbreak and understanding. He turned to the activists, still mid-chant, and nodded once, a gesture not of agreement, but of acknowledgement. Then he walked away, not rushed, not rattled, just walked. The media had a field day. Actor attacked at charity event. Shocking paint protest caught on camera. Social feeds erupted with reactions, admiration, outrage, jokes, support. Everyone had an opinion, but he didn't say a word. That silence spoke louder than any headline ever could. Most people thought that would be the end of it, another viral moment gone tomorrow. But for him, it became a turning point. Because when something like that happens in public, it gives you a strange kind of power. The world's watching, and you get to choose what they see next. He could have lashed out. He could have made it about himself. Instead, he decided to make it about someone else. So he made a call, not to a PR team, not to a lawyer, but to someone who sells jets. People throw things all the time, paint, words, judgment. That night, they threw paint. I threw kindness back. It's funny how the world expects a reaction, especially when things go wrong. People wait for the meltdown, the fury, the press release. The moment something messy happens, there's this hunger not just to see what you'll do, but to see if you'll break. But not everything needs a reaction. Not every wound has to bleed out loud. After the paint incident, the calls came in immediately. Agents, lawyers, journalists, you need to respond, do an interview, press charges, clear your name. They meant well. That's the world they know. When you get hit, you hit back. When someone throws paint on you in public, the machine kicks in to clean it up. Rebuild the image, restore the brand, but I wasn't interested in that. I wasn't angry. Honestly, I felt something different, sad, maybe. But more than that, I felt still, like something was opening up instead of closing down. Because in that moment, with the paint dripping down and all the chaos around me, I had this strange, quiet clarity. I thought about the protesters. I didn't know their names or their story, but I knew pain when I saw it. And pain, when it's not heard, gets loud. Sometimes it screams through anger. Sometimes it throws paint. So I didn't respond with a statement. I didn't retaliate. I didn't even post a single word online. I just listened. Not to the noise, to the silence underneath it. The part that was asking something real. Will you look at us? Will you care? That's what people forget. It's not always about being right. It's about being kind, and kindness isn't loud. It doesn't need a microphone. It's not something you do to be seen. It's something you choose because it's right. So I went home that night, washed the paint off, and sat with the question, if someone is hurting enough to throw something at you, how can you help without throwing anything back? The next day, I didn't call a PR strategist. I called a friend who works in medical transport. I asked questions about kids who need treatment, families who can't afford to fly, lives caught between distance and time. That conversation stayed with me, and over the next few days, it turned into something more. People think strength is standing your ground, but sometimes strength is stepping aside, giving the moment room to breathe, and letting something better grow from it. I didn't need to say anything after that night. I just needed to do something that mattered. They threw paint. I chose peace. A few days later, the headlines started to shift. Not because I gave a statement, I didn't, but because someone noticed a transaction, a big one. A $75 million private jet had just changed hands, and my name was attached to it. Now, if you know anything about how the internet works, you can imagine what happened next. The gossip cycle kicked into overdrive. Actor buys $75 million jet days after protest incident. Revenge flex, midlife crisis. You name it, they ran with it. People love a good contradiction. You stay silent, they think you're weak. You make a big move, they think you're showing off. But very few people stop to ask why. I didn't buy the jet to fly above anyone. I bought it to bring people closer to something they never thought they'd reach. Hospitals, specialists, hope. See, while the noise around the protest died down, I'd been having quiet conversations behind the scenes. With doctors, with hospital administrators, with families, learning how many people, especially kids, get stuck in this brutal waiting game between illness and access. They can't get to where they need to go, and even when they can, the cost is crushing. Insurance doesn't cover it. Commercial flights are too risky or just unavailable, so they wait, sometimes too long. That didn't sit right with me. I kept thinking, if I can be in New York at noon and Tokyo by midnight, why can't a kid in rural Idaho get to a children's hospital in Boston without it being a financial disaster for their family? So yeah, I bought a jet, not for champagne, not for selfies, but because it's a tool, and when used right, the right tool can save a life. I set up a small team, nothing flashy, to manage flight requests, coordinate with medical teams, and make sure families never see a bill. I didn't put my name on the side. There's no logo, no press tour, just seats filled with people who deserve a shot at healing. Some folks still don't get it. That's okay. You don't do something like this so people will understand. You do it because you understand what it means to help when you can. And honestly, I'd rather be misunderstood while doing good than celebrated for doing nothing. They thought I was making a statement. I wasn't. I was making a runway. Most people assumed the jet was for convenience, for privacy, maybe even ego, and honestly, I don't blame them. That's what jets usually mean in this world. It's the symbol, right? Fast cars, private planes, luxury for the few. I get why the assumption was made. But this jet had a different mission from the start. See, while the headlines were talking about paint and protests, I was sitting across from a mother in a hospital cafeteria, listening to her explain how she and her son had slept in their car for 3 nights just to make a follow-up appointment. She wasn't asking for anything. She was just grateful they made it. That moment stayed with me, and it kept happening. Families stretched beyond their limits, doing everything possible to keep their kids alive, but with no real help getting where they needed to go. For them, distance wasn't just about miles. It was about money, time, red tape, luck. So the idea wasn't just to own a jet. It was to use it. Use it to cut through all of that. Take a child from a place of no options and put them in front of the best doctors in the country. Give families time back, dignity back, a little breathing room in the middle of a storm. I worked with a team of medical transport specialists, people who lived this stuff, to figure out the logistics. What routes made sense, which hospitals had the resources, how to do it quietly, efficiently, without turning it into some kind of production. No branding, no social media campaigns, just the question, who needs to get there, followed by, let's get them there. The first flight was quiet. No photographers, just a little boy with a rare disorder, his mom and 2 nurses. They were scared. They were tired. But when they stepped off that plane on the other side, they were also relieved because someone had removed one of the impossible barriers between them and hope, and that was the point. Over time, more flights followed, some long, some short, all of them urgent, all of them personal, and every single one reminded me, kindness doesn't have to be loud, but it does have to move. I didn't tell anyone because it wasn't for show. I didn't need applause. I just needed to know that maybe, once in a while, the thing we call success could actually be useful. They thought I bought the jet to fly above the world, but the truth is, I bought it to meet people right where they are and lift them just a little closer to where they need to be. People acted like the jet came out of nowhere, like it was this sudden, out-of-character gesture. But the truth is, this kind of thing has always been part of my life, just not always in ways that make the news. See, there's this strange idea that kindness has to be big and loud to count, that unless you post about it, or brand it, or make it part of some campaign, it doesn't matter. But some of the most meaningful things I've ever done have happened when no one was watching. Years ago, I worked on a film, a big one, the kind that makes a studio rich. After we wrapped, I found out some of the crew, the people behind the cameras in the rigs, hauling cables in the rain at 4 a.m., had been working insane hours for barely livable wages. These were the people who made the whole thing possible, and they were burning out just to pay rent. So I gave part of my salary back, quietly, not because someone told me to, or because it made a headline, but because it was the right thing to do. If I'm in a position to make someone's life a little easier, why wouldn't I? It wasn't the only time. On another project, I cut my paycheck so a few actors could stay on the film. Not because I'm some saint, I'm not, but because I've never believed this work should be about one person. The best things we make together. And if someone needs a boost to stay in the game, I'll help them up. It's the same with people I meet off set. I've had full conversations on sidewalks with folks most people walk past. Not because I'm trying to do good, but because every single person has a story, and sometimes the most human thing you can do is sit down and listen to one. Over the years, I've learned this. Acts of kindness aren't about grand gestures. They're about being aware, being present, knowing that you might not be able to fix everything, but you can do something. And sometimes that something means more than you'll ever know. So no, the jet wasn't random. It was just another step down the same path. The scale was bigger, sure, but the heart behind it was the same. Just one more way to say, I see you, and I care. At the end of the day, it's not about making headlines. It's about making someone's load a little lighter, and doing it whether the cameras are rolling or not. I never needed attention for doing the right thing. I just needed to keep doing it. The funny thing about moments like this is how fast they pass. 1 minute, it's all anyone can talk about. The protest, the paint, the silence, the jet. And then suddenly, the world moves on. That's how it works now. Everything's loud for a second and forgotten just as fast. But that night didn't just pass for me. It shifted something. It reminded me that the way we respond when the world throws something at us, that's what sticks. That's what asterisk lasts asterisk. It would have been easy to lash out, to clap back online, to issue a carefully written response that turned the story in my favor. That's the usual play, but what do you win from that? Applause, validation, maybe, but not meaning. Not purpose, and definitely not peace. So instead of reacting, I redirected. I turned the moment into motion, into something that could outlive the noise. A jet that flies children to hospitals. A system that cuts through red tape. A story that doesn't center on me, but on what can be done asterisk for others asterisk when you choose kindness instead of ego. The truth is, anyone can go viral, but making a difference, that takes intention. It takes follow-through. It takes choosing compassion not just once in public, but over and over in private. That paint didn't humiliate me. It clarified me. It made me think about how easy it is to be angry, how reflexive it is to defend ourselves when we feel attacked. But what if instead of protecting your image, you protect someone's chance at survival? What if instead of asking, how do I look right now, you ask, what can I asterisk give asterisk right now? Because the world's not short on criticism, or conflict, or noise. What it's starving for, what it's always been starving for, is real, steady, human kindness. The kind that doesn't need credit, the kind that just shows up. And if that kindness can take flight. Even better, I didn't change the world with what I did. I know that. But I changed asterisk someone's asterisk world, maybe a few. Maybe more than a few if I'm lucky. And if that's all I ever do with the time and resources I've been given, I'll take that trade every single day. At the end of all of this, here's what I've learned. Sometimes life throws things at you to see what you'll catch, and what you'll throw back. They threw paint, I threw a lifeline, so yeah, they threw paint. They wanted to make a mess, start a scene. Maybe even tear someone down. But what they didn't realize, what most people still don't, is that I don't live for the applause and I don't fear the backlash. I don't need to win the argument. I just want to show up where it counts, because real strength isn't loud. Real change doesn't ask for attention. And kindness, the kind that saves lives, lifts people, and moves quietly through the chaos. That's the only legacy I'm interested in. I didn't buy that jet to fly above the world. I bought it to lift others off the ground. And if one act of quiet compassion can rise from one act of loud anger, then maybe we're not as far apart as we think. That's the story, not the protest, not the paint, the kindness that came next.